French police have arrested 2 suspects over the jewellery theft at the Louvre Museum last week, say Paris prosecutors.
The US and China are getting closer to reach a trade deal. It comes ahead of a meeting between Trump and Xi on Thursday.
Moscow says it has successfully tested a new nuclear missile, with Russian President Vladimir Putin saying it is, quote, unlike any other in the world.
An Egyptian convoy with heavy equipment entered Gaza to help search efforts for the bodies of remaining Israeli hostages.
French police have arrested 2 suspects over the jewellery theft at the Louvre Museum last week, say Paris prosecutors. The 2 men, one of whom was trying to board a flight, can now be questioned by authorities for up to 96 hours. Items worth €88 million were taken from the world's most visited museum last Sunday, when 4 thieves broke into the building via a balcony in broad daylight. They used a vehicle-mounted mechanical lift and power tools. Around 8 pieces of historic jewellery were removed, all associated with French 19th century royalty. The heist has been criticised as a national humiliation by some, raising questions over the museum's security.
The United States and China are getting closer to reach a trade deal, officials from both sides said on Sunday. The development comes as US President Donald Trump is traveling through Asia, where he's currently in Malaysia for a summit. Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping are expected to further finalize the deal during their high-stakes meeting on Thursday in South Korea, which is Trump's last stop on his trip. Tensions have been high between the two. Recently, Beijing decided to implement tighter restrictions on rare earth exports, and in response, Trump threatened additional tariffs on Chinese imports. However, Trump expressed confidence that an agreement was nearby, claiming that both China and the US, quote, want to make a deal.
US President Donald Trump made an unexpected stop in Qatar on his way to Asia, meeting with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani for talks closely watched across the region. The meeting focused on ongoing efforts in Gaza and Qatar's role in mediating between the parties. The discussions took place aboard Air Force One during a refueling stop in Doha, part of Trump's first Asian tour since returning to office. Topics included the recent Israel-Hamas hostage deal, with Qatar playing a central coordinating role.
You're going to have peace in the Middle East. This is real peace. It's never happened before. 3,000 years it's never happened. And great respect when he came to the airport, came onto the plane. That's never happened either. And he's a highly respected man.
Qatar's Emir described the meeting as a valuable opportunity to advance regional stability and strengthen international coordination. The encounter also highlighted Doha's role as a mediator as President Trump begins his Asia tour focused on trade, investment, and diplomacy. Mohammed Alashi, Euronews, Doha.
An Egyptian convoy with heavy equipment, including excavators and bulldozers, entered Gaza overnight into Sunday. The team will help search and retrieve the remaining bodies of Israeli hostages. It is the first time Israel has allowed for the entry of Egyptian vehicles to help with the search. Under the US-brokered ceasefire, Israel agreed to give back 15 bodies of imprisoned Palestinians for every body of an Israeli hostage. However, the massive destruction of the Strip has made it difficult for Hamas to find the remaining bodies. On Sunday, the militant group expanded its search in new areas of the Gaza Strip. Meanwhile, local authorities reported Israeli forces struck a refugee camp in Gaza on Saturday night. The Israeli military claimed it targeted Islamic Jihad militants, while the group denied it was preparing an attack. Hamas called the strike a, quote, clear violation of the ceasefire agreement.
Russian defense forces have successfully tested a new type of missile, capable of covering a distance of at least 14,000 kilometers, says the Kremlin. During a visit to a command post for troops fighting in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin hailed his country's military achievements.
Речь идет о испытании крылатой ракеты неограниченной дальности «Буревестник» с ядерной энергетической установкой. Знаю, что у меня есть доклад и со стороны промышленности, в целом известная и оценка Министерства обороны. Это все-таки уникальное изделие, которого в мире не...
The Burevestnik missile is believed to be able to carry a nuclear warhead or a conventional one, and could potentially stay aloft for a much longer time than other missiles, thanks to nuclear propulsion.
Добрый день, добрый вечер.
In a Euronews interview, EU Commissioner Hadja Labib defended Belgian resistance to unblocking frozen Russian assets to support Ukraine. At Thursday's EU Leaders Summit, Belgium was accused of derailing efforts to issue a €140 billion loan to Ukraine using Russian immobilized assets, the bulk of which is held in Belgium. Labib echoed the Belgian government's demands for legal guarantees.
We are not blocking the loans. We are also giving to Ukrainians interest of these loans that are blocked. It's the first in our history. We don't have an example to follow, and it needs to be secured in a legal point of view. That's the only thing.
Belgium fears Russian retaliation if Moscow demands its assets back and sanctions are undone.
We need to secure the legal aspect to be sure that Belgium is not going to be brought in front of a court of justice later on.
Financial support for Ukraine will likely be picked up again at another EU summit in December.
And these are the songs that he wants to work on right now.
Trying to find some real in all the noise.
They always do.
We find him in this film when he's coming off the river tour, and he can very easily continue that trajectory of selling out arenas and having hit songs. But instead, he chose silence, a 4-track recorder, and the courage to look inward. And that choice gave us Nebraska.
I did what I did, sir, I guess it's just a meanness in this world.
I've spoken before, I haven't sang a whole lot, but I understand the concept of singing. I've been a fan of music and singers, but the guitar, I remember holding it in my hands for the first time and trying to wrap my fingers around the right strings for the chords, and it just feeling like completely alien to me.
Bruce is a relief, and what he's doing with this album.
For the past 33 years, tattooing by anyone other than a medical professional was punishable by law in South Korea. But that didn't lead the art form to disappear. For years, hundreds of thousands of tattoo artists, operating underground, risked up to 5 years in jail or fines of about up to 50 million Korean won, or 30,000 euros. Tattoos remained relatively commonplace, especially as they gained popularity on social media, but the cost, legal and social, remained high. As of 2021, there were an estimated 350,000 tattoo artists in the country, according to the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Among these, many operated strictly underground and had no medical qualifications. At once a form of defiance and an act of expression, tattooing became an underground community of its own, a hidden world where artists could share their fears, dreams, and most importantly, their art with one another. Angels, a documentary by Hisham Tuli Idrisi and Nancy Wong Musisa, put the secret lives of South Korean tattoo artists on full display as they worked in the shadows in the name of their art. It tells the stories of those who dared to defy both the stigma and the law, and who eventually campaigned for their country to recognize their work.
저의 성격상 저는 모든 상황에서 당당하게 살고자 하는데 법이 없다 보니 법이 불법이라는 거 안에서 안전하지 못하다는 느낌을 받는 게 제일 크고요. 또 미래의 나의 삶을 그려 나갈 때 있어서 불안정함?
More than that, they risk social stigma, including from their families. Tattoos in South Korea are often associated with medical risks or gang activity. In Korea, China, and Japan, criminals were once punished for having their faces tattooed, a stigma that continues into the modern day.
타투 많은 사람으로 사는 게 열받았던 때도 있어요. 근데 저는 그래요. 제가 어렸을 때 할머니랑 살았다 보니까 지나가다가 할머니나 뭐 할아버지 분들이 저를 이렇게 쳐다보세요. 쳐다보시고 막 얼굴 이런 타투를 막 이렇게 유심 있게 보시면서 되게 걱정스러운 표정으로 할머니잖아요. 우리 할머니랑 똑같은 할머니잖아요.
Following lengthy campaigns, including by a tattooist union, the law finally changed last month, bringing an end to the instability faced by people in the sector. Non-medical professionals who make up a vast majority of the sector will now be able to be licensed and gain formal recognition for their work. The process to full recognition, however, will be lengthy, as the law will come into force in 2 years. Social change, too, will take time, as opinion polls show that most South Koreans still view tattoos in a negative light.